Today we'll show you how to export out of Blender into Foveate and using geometry nodes. Alright, so we have our geometry node set up here in Blender. This is actually just one rock asset. I have this geometry node set up that I use to array this photo scan asset multiple times in a grid and then randomize some of the position, rotation, scale. So I'll show you here what that looks like. Just a quick setup. So here we can change the rotation range here. We can change things like the max and min scale. So for example, if I want the rocks to have more of a variation in the Z, I can do that easily adjusting this slider. That's a little bit unrealistic. So we'll just make that a little bit more subtle. And let's say that we want to increase the size of this array to 60 by 60 meters. We got some holes in there, so let's increase the count in our setup. All right, that looks pretty good. Actually, I want to make this a little bit taller. All right, so we have more variation here. And now all you have to do is, I like to click the asset that I want to export, press export GLTF. Now this should automatically export to the .glb file here, and then we'll pick a directory. So I'm going to pick a folder just for this. We'll do Icelandic rocks test, and the important thing that you have to do, and I like to click remember export settings, select objects. Important thing you have to do is go into scene graph and then check this box, geometry nodes instances. It's an experimental mode, but works totally fine. I'm on Blender 4.2 and I like to do GPU instances. So because in this case we are instancing this object, what this will do is basically use instancing within the file that Foveate can recognize. So even though you have an asset with, let's say, 4K textures and thousands of polygons, to this file, it will appear, just as one asset being instanced multiple times. So I can just export that. That'll take a second. It's pretty much instantly done. And the base asset here, you can see, is only 13,000 polys. And even though we're arraying this like 100 times, we're not having any of that overhead. All right, so if we go to our file explorer here, we can drag and drop this on. The asset gets optimized, uploaded, and rendered instantly in the scene, just like it was in Blender. But it has all of Foveate's real-time rendering stuff, like ambient occlusion, bloomed up the field, what have you. So we can change this HDR to something more akin to this background, like this winter day scene. And go to post-processing here, maybe turn on depth of field. So we can make this look a little bit prettier. And we can make our first moment. Just call it something simple. Moment 1, Icelandic rocks. And then we'll have another point of view here. Maybe more of an overhead shot. Call this moment 2. Overview. All right, so all someone has to do is press play. They can now go between our assets, and now we can share the scene with our teammates, invite people. If we want to make this public to share, we can publish it, embed it, what have you. But that's it. And now this scene is taking full advantage of geometry nodes in Blender.